Hey, this is Chris Park. This is a video for Craig, although this is something that I figure modders would find useful as well, so why not make it public? This is in no way meant to be critical, but the process for doing the new Subsquad stuff is pretty complicated, so I just wanted to touch on a few things. So um, Craig went ahead and set up the iBots, and in general, I really like what's going on. He made a quintet out of them. The default LED 0 is this, which is of course insane, which is not him. That's just how many vertices um, these things take when there's 5 of them all in one. And we're only seeing that when we're at super close zoom, so that makes sense. Craig then went ahead and set up LOD1, which scales them down pretty heavily, but not egregiously so their shape doesn't get all mangled. And then as his final LOD, he did this where they're starting to get kind of mangled, and their LODs or their number of triangles is way down. But this is where my first problem comes in, which is that this is good. This stepping is good, but and I like the progression that we have here, but this isn't enough. We can't stop at this particular point. So I made a new LOD3 so that we have even more of a progression. You'll see this just wrecks it at this point. The iBots themselves are pretty small, and we're seeing them from really far away quite a lot of the time. So there's no reason to waste a bunch of polygons rendering them. We may as well render a rect little thing that gives the right, speck of color and all that in the distance. So when we look at the iBot quintet here, right now the distance from this camera here is 9. And so it's showing LOD 0, and of course looking at the best possible quality. Please excuse the glowing special effect that's with it there. But yeah, so I come out here, we hit, boom, we just passed it. That was 50, distance 50, and it changes down to Craig's LOD 1. Now, you know what? That is so darn smooth. I actually can't even tell a difference. Let's try and make it closer, because that ultimately is the goal, is to make it so that it switches to something else as fast as possible. I'm still not seeing any difference here, even at 40. You can see that it is switching back and forth between the two, but the difference is just not apparent to me. So let's try 30. This is probably going to be too much. It's not. Oh my gosh. Wow. Alrighty. So yeah. All right. So actually changing the LED distances for LED 0 to 30. Now the next one had been set to 150. Now I changed that to be 70 because again, we want to crank it in as early as possible when it can switch. Now I was not even able to see it that time I went so far. I missed it. See what happens when we pass 50 at this point. Whoa, golly. That's probably on a bigger monitor. Gonna still be visible, so let's try it at 60. Oh, I can see it still. All right, 70. This is reasonable for this level of pop. It's a very small pop. And then my new one, I put at the 150 range. And I tried putting that a little closer, but I felt like for the amount of munging, you can see how it kind of crunches a little bit. For the amount of munging that it does, any closer than 150 is not a good idea. Now, I also made the change for the last element. Instead of being 5,000, I made it 6,000. Now, for the original iBots, it was set to 5,000 for one iBot because those things are darn small, and so that made sense. But a group of 5 iBots is actually pretty large, and them all disappearing at distance 5,000 is a lot more noticeable. So I put this to 6,000 instead of 5,000. It's just a small change. And so as far as the iBots go, those were the main changes that I've had thus far. One thing I've noticed though is that these are set to Archon combined emissive. Now that may just be that the material didn't get checked in, but I'm going to switch that over to Archon combined emissive bobbing, and they're not set to have any sort of bobbing at the moment. Now they are. And it looks like there's subtly different bobbing on all of them. So I'm happy enough with that. So that's good. Okay, cool. So that's part of the material, so it doesn't need to be saved. If that just didn't get checked in properly, then it's just a matter of remembering to hit save all assets properly. Okay, so we now have iBot Quintet, which I assume is being used in the game, but I don't really know. I haven't checked that part yet. And then the autocannon minipod was the other one that he did. So let's see what's going on here. All right, so we got our autocannon minipods, and I will also note that it's handy not to switch it over to the bobbing when you're just looking at the actual ships and trying to see if they're looking appropriate, basically. So we got 50, 100, and 6,000 here. Okay, so let's see what our okay, so we got 13,000 again. Oof. And then 654, that's a nice jump down. The iBots were particularly hard because they have a lot of little spikes and stuff. These ones reduce a little more easily. And these get down to 3,234 tries. I think that we can still get this down to like 1,300 or so vertices for another LOD out. The reason why we're winding up with 4 LODs and LOD 0, 1, 2, 3 instead of just 0, 1, 2 is that these ships are really small. And so since we've got a group of small ships, the nature of that, is that we want them to be nice and detailed when we're up close, but then we're able to do more stepping of details down as we go further out. Versus with the really large ships, they already the nature of their number of details is just different, I guess, is what I can't think of a great way to articulate it right this second. Sorry. So let's take care of these guys. So right now, I'm guessing we can do with 30 again on this. It's just my wild guess. So let's see, we're 23.6, 36, and I saw 0 difference. So cool. All right, we'll try taking this one from 100 down to 70, not 7. And let's see what happens. So 40s, just past that. Okay, so there's a definite pop, but it's a small one, and that's fine with me. Let's try 80. We're rarely at these sort of distances from ships to begin with, so we may as well make it not pop too much. All right, cool. And now, for any time we're at a further distance, we need these specs to be using as little space as possible. So I'm immediately taking off curvature and texture protections. All right, so we've got this down. Now remember, this is counting vertices, not triangles. So the triangles are going to be a lower number than the vertices. It's usually at least 3 vertices per triangle. However, not always, because sometimes there's shared vertices for 2 triangles that are next to each other. So, okay. So we got that. Now, what distance am I at right now? I'm at distance 95.7. I don't care about that. Let's get to distance 150 or so, and let's find something that doesn't look too different. So, yeah, all right. Let's try doing protect texture after all. I can't really see the difference there. There's a pop, but it's not a ridiculous one. Let's see if we change it up just a little bit if it's any better. Nope, sure isn't. So let's try changing it down a little bit. See if it's any worse. That's a lot worse. Okay, yeah, that's getting kind of ridiculous there. Original looks like that. The new one looks like this. It's interesting. Oh, hey. This maybe looks somewhat more similar, maybe not. Okay, there's a pop, but that's just the nature of video games. Breath of the Wild has pops. It's okay. So fleet ships, autocannon minipod, quintet LOD3, asset, autofix things wrong with this. It gets rid of the mesh simplifier for me. That's handy. 4, drag in the LED3 here, change this to 150, safe apply prefab. So now I'm on LED2 at the moment, so I'm at 148.7, back up just a tad. I'm not even seeing the pop now. All right, so when I look at LED3, this is what it is. LED2, that's what that is. Okay. Less of a pop than I thought, because I think it was going from LOD 0 to, I don't know what it was doing. I'm not sure why it was doing it that way. Okay, so, now that this is working, add in the bobbing. So Arkin, combine emissive bobbing, and of course that does nothing at first until we actually add a bob speed. And it looks like these were set up to bob very nicely. I like what that looks like. That's good. All right. Arkin, save all assets. Arkin, build Windows asset bundle. Okay. So let's see what's going on this side. So we've got ourselves a quintet. Are those being used? Okay, autocannon minipod quintet dot prefab. Cool. iPod quintet. Cool. All right. So this is building. I'm gonna be back in a second. I'm gonna pause and then come back after it finishes building.